Okay, good evening. Can I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Deputy Mayor Coghlan, Councillor Chapman, that the regular meeting of Council of the Township of Springwater, August 7, 2019, come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem led by Deputy Mayor Coghlan.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons commend. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight, Council? Okay, thank you. We're moving into the public meeting session, planning matters. Can I have a mover and a seconder to call this public meeting to order? Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coghlan. All those in favor? Carried. The motion is that this public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended, on a zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 219004 by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Ferndale Homes, and zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 219005 by Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates on behalf of 717350 Ontario Limited, be called to order at 6:37 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Purpose of the meeting. Welcome to this public meeting of Springwater Township Council held in compliance with Section 34 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regard to a proposed amendments to the Township of Springwater zoning bylaw 5000 as amended. The first part of the meeting is to present the amendments. Following that, an opportunity will be given to enable those who have any comments, concerns, or inquiries with regard to these proposals to make their views known to Council. In addition to any comments made at this meeting, written presentations would also be welcomed by Council. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Township of Springwater in respect of a proposed zoning bylaw amendment does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the Township of Springwater before the proposed zoning bylaw amendments are passed, the local planning appeal tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. Any persons who wish to speak should first give their name and address. All comments or questions should be addressed through the chair. Oral submissions will form part of the public meeting minutes record, including the name and address of the speaker, as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. The minutes of the meeting will be posted on the Township website. So first we're dealing with the ZB 2019004 by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Fernbrook Homes at 1426 Wilson Drive, being the estates of Antrim Mills. And I'll now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of the meeting and the dates on which notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 15th day of July 2019 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 15 properties in the Township of Springwater within 120 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was also posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location that was visible from Wilson Drive. The notice was also placed on the Township's website.
And has the Planning Department received any correspondence in response to the notice of the public meeting?
Correspondence has been received from Enbridge Gas. the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, as well as Ainley Group, and details of the comments can be found in the agenda package.
Thank you. I'll now call upon Vanessa Simpson, agent for Fernbrook Homes, to give a brief explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal. Welcome.
Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Vanessa Simpson, and I'm here from Innovative Planning Solutions, the planner on this project, to represent our client and the following proposed zoning bylaw amendment and red line revision application on the estates of Anton Mills, draft plan approved subdivision at 1426 Wilson Drive. The subject lands are located within the settlement area of Anton Mills in the township of Springwater. They're located along Wilson Drive with a frontage of 325.81 meters and an area of 25.66 hectares. The lands are partially tree covered and surrounded by rural lands, estate residential properties, and recreational lands. The draft plan of subdivision along with the official plan and zoning bylaw amendments, were approved in October 2016 at the OMB. This draft plan includes 76 residential lots, a stormwater management pond, parkland, trails, and a service block. The development has 2 access points, one off Wilson Drive and the second off Binney Drive. The official plan amendment redesignated the lands to urban residential and natural heritage, while the zoning bylaw amendment rezoned the lands to R1, EP, and open space. Through detailed design, completed by the engineer consultant on this file, and reviewed by the township's engineer review consultant, Ainley Group, and the MVCA, the engineer has requested a red line revision to relocate the stormwater management block to a more suitable location for engineering purposes. This change should be seen as technical. The proposed red line revision would essentially swap the location of the stormwater pond and the 2 adjacent residential lots, lots 40 and 41. The red line shown here in this slide shows the proposed reconfigured layout. The revisions do not affect the total number of units or the density which is approved. The internal road network will remain the same. All lots and blocks other than lot 40, 41, and the stormwater block will remain as previously approved. Due to the red line revision and the swap of the stormwater pond and the residential lots, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. Only these lands are subject to this rezoning. All other lands will remain as previously approved. The stormwater pond will be zoned open space, and the residential lots will be zoned R1 residential 1 zone. This image provides a close-up of the detailed design in this area of the stormwater pond and the 2 residential lots that are affected by these applications. A 4-meter tree preservation zone will be protected along the rear property line of lot 40 and 41, which continues down the way as well. And the stormwater pond will be fenced along the east and south limits with no fence along the road. In conclusion, these applications should be seen as technical as a result of the detailed design. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson. I will now call upon any members of the public wishing to ask questions or make comments regarding this application. Please come forward to the microphone and state your name and address. Is that microphone? Okay, there don't appear to be questions from the audience. I turn to council. Do members of council have any questions or comments regarding this application? Okay. Yes, Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Thank you for the presentation. This switch that's going on here, why wasn't this picked up in the first round of engineering?
Ms.
To
Simpson?
your worship, through the first round, it's more of a preliminary design, higher level. Now that we've got down to the details of, you know, where every specific detail will lay out in the design, the engineers found that a more suitable location would be switched.
You'd think with the engineering that's done and the planning that's gone on and the money spent on this, you couldn't have gotten it right the first time, but anyways, thank you for your time.
And will this will be dry most of the time? Will there be grass or trees or similar to some of the stormwater management areas we have in the township?
Yes, Your Worship. It will be planted. There's detailed landscape plans that go along with this submission. And there will be grasses and trees and shrubs and appropriate species planted around the pond.
Thank you. Other questions of council? Okay, thank you for attending the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and showing an interest in this matter. Thank you. Next, we go on to ZB 219005 by Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates on behalf of 717350 Ontario Limited at 2630 Vespra Valley Road, Snow Valley Resort. I'll now call upon the clerk to confirm notice of this meeting and the dates on which notice was given.
Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 15th day of July, 2019, to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 14 properties in the township of Springwater within 120 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was also posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies, at a location that was visible from Vespra Valley Road. The notice was also placed on the township website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of the public meeting?
Correspondence was received from Enbridge Gas, and details of the comments can be found in the agenda package.
Thank you. I'll now call upon Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates to give a brief explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal. Thank you. And with her is Mr. Brian Smith. Welcome.
Good evening. My name's Angela Rudy. Brian Smith. You can answer any questions after. I just wanted to note that in the agenda, the numbered company numbers are flipped, just so the public knows for sure. So in item 4.3 and 5.2, it should be 453211.
Okay.
That's the company that owns it. Just
Thank you for
to
that
be clear,
clarification. That's a
okay?
good point to adjust. Thank you.
so this evening, we're going to be talking about a zoning bylaw amendment for the Snow Valley Ski Resort. And I can just click this, right? Okay. The property is located at, towards the end of Vespra Valley Road. It's approximately 4.26 hectares in size and 91.59 meters of frontage along Vespra Valley. It actually, as you can see by the map, it represents the frontage, the entrance to the ski resort. The current official plan is Tourist and Recreational Open Space 1. The zoning currently is Open Space and Environmental Protection, Exception 19. It's EP 19. So the open space is towards the larger part of the rectangle, the triangle. And the EP is towards the rear, which includes some of the walking trails for the ski resort. As I mentioned, it's an existing access area for the ski resort, and there's an existing road and driveway that actually provides access to the tubing park and the rear of the ski resort. And currently it's being used by outsiders for snowmobiling, hiking, and other activities, because there's really nothing there to stop people from coming in. The intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone just a portion of the open space zone to open space exception zone. So that would only be the front portion. The EP 19 zone would remain as is. There is nothing to be changed in that portion of the property. So the goal is to permit a single-family dwelling on the subject lands to accommodate a full-time security for the ski resort lands. And so they're hoping to have a dwelling built in this area to help with some of the trespassing and outsiders using the property. As per section 810.5.1 of the Township Official Plan, the proposed use can be considered a necessary and ancillary structure for the ski resort operation, and it does conform to the Township OP, the growth plan, the provincial policy statement, and the County of Simcoe official plan as well. And obviously, the owner would require once the zoning bylaw is approved, he would require a building permit to authorize the construction of the dwelling. That is just an aerial view showing, you can see at the top, like you can see this is the ski resort, and you can see that that's the entrance towards the ski resort, and that's really why they need a security type person at the front of the resort. And that's pretty much everything, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll now call upon members of the public wishing to ask questions or make comments regarding this application. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address. All right, there don't seem to be any questions from the public. Do any members of council have questions or comments regarding this application? Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the presentation. That property, is that not big enough to be split into two parcels, two lots?
I don't, if I may, Your
Yes,
Worship,
please.
I don't think the goal is to create additional residential lots, because it's actually, there was just a boundary adjustment created on that property to actually add those lands to the ski resort lands, because they're such an important part of the entrance part of the ski resort. So they wouldn't want to divide it up. It's also now it's owned by the ski resort. It was transferred to the 453211 lands, and that's the way they want to keep it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, council? Thank you, Ms. Rudy, and thank you for attending the meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and showing interest in the matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn this public meeting? Councillor Ritchie and Deputy Mayor Coghlan, that this public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended on a zoning bylaw amendment application, ZB 219004, by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Fernbrook Homes, and zoning bylaw amendment application 219005 by Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates on behalf of 717350 Ontario Limited, now adjourn at 6:48 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive direction following the public meeting regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 219004 by Innovative Planning Solutions on behalf of Fernbrook Homes? Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coghlan, that council having held a public meeting in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended on zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 219004 by Innovative Planning on behalf of Fernbrook Homes, having noted correspondence and input received, direct that the application be referred back to staff. All those in favor? Yes, question, Deputy Mayor Coghlan?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. So the intent or purpose to refer back to staff, are we approving it or referring it back?
We are referring it back to staff. Director Spagnol, what would be the next steps then, please?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. The next steps would be that staff would prepare a report with a recommendation of either approval or refusal for council's consideration, along with additional details as to the next course of action with respect to the red line revisions and the zoning application.
All those in favor? Carried. I have a mover and a seconder to receive the direction following the public meeting regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 219005 by Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates on behalf of 717350 Ontario. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Ritchie, that council, having held a public meeting in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act, 1990 P13 as amended on zoning bylaw amendment, application ZB 219005 by Angela Rudy of Rudy and Associates on behalf of 717350 Ontario, having noted correspondence and input received, direct that the application be referred back to staff. All those in favor? Carried. There are no deputations or presentations this evening, so item 7 is question period. Any members of the public are invited to ask questions of council or make comments regarding items on the agenda, and each person may speak for up to 2 minutes. Question period will not exceed 10 minutes. Please state your
2
name.
minutes, right, on the clock?
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes, up to 2 minutes.
Parent-teacher interviews are 5 minutes, so I'm sure I can do this.
Please state your name and address,
Judy
please.
Morfitt, 2405 Gill Road.
Yes,
I've lived in Midhurst since I was 26 years old. I recognize a couple of you here. My question is in regards, actually, my father's 82, and he called into the township and asked about the road on Finley Mill at the bottom of the bridge, about, I don't know, 500 meters towards Doran, is it? There's a lot of, the pavement is just terrible. And when you're driving down, the road just, heaven forbid if someone's in a BMW or a Corvette. I don't know if any of you drive that road at all, but it's terrible. And when my father did call, he was told by the roads fellow that they're waiting for the development for that road to be, when the development's finished, they'll be paving the road then.
yes.
But I'm just wondering with the common sense within it, that the township can afford some tar and not just to fill the little holes, but that section should be smoothed out. And I'm here to get an answer because it's not good for anyone's vehicle. So I'm not sure if anyone on council drives Finley Mill or on a regular basis, because if you do, I'm sure you would know. And I can't imagine that I would be the first person asking about this.
Right. I'll direct that to CAO Brindley. Initially, I knew we were doing some patching of that road area in the springtime. Do you know whether, what specific area is being talked about here, and whether we did any work on that, or whether there's any interim work planned for that, please?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'll first hand it over to Mr. Ha to see if there was a response to the question, but I'd be happy to take it back after that and talk about a plan forward.
Okay, Mr. Ha?
Sorry as well, I did send an email to Springwater on June 24th at 1:49 p.m.
Okay.
And I had not received an answer.
Okay, Mr. Ha, can you provide any comment, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Allen. We have been doing some, obviously, asphalt work in Midhurst. We are going out with another tender, and spots on Finley Mill are included in that, but they are just to repair the small patches. Obviously, yes, we have been waiting,
The
to
small
see what
patches aren't gonna do it, so.
relative to repairing the entire stretch of the road that will then in turn be redone by the development when it occurs. So the areas will be are included in the tender that's slated to go out next week. So
And so the estimation of the timing of that work would be?
would be I think the way the tender is now, work would be completed by the end of October.
Okay,
So
All right.
is that my answer, is that it will be done by the end of October?
well, subject to, that's our best estimate of having it done. And it's certainly in the works to be done this year, and that's the estimate of the time frame.
Okay.
Okay?
Can I ask another question?
I think you've had your 2 minutes. We'll see whether anybody
Okay,
else
so
is.
I can only ask one question, is that correct?
Well, we'll see whether anybody else has questions, and
Okay.
then we'd be glad to welcome. Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Morfitt, exactly where at Dorn and Finley Mill? Is that near the general store where you're speaking?
No, I'm talking about right at, just past the bridge at the base of the hill. When you're coming down the hill between, is it Belmont or, Waddy? Waddy and, Finley Mill. Just after the bridge, there's a red sign there right now that says D1. You can't miss it, you just need to drive down it.
Okay, thank you. I think I know where you're talking about now.
Yeah.
And again, I would just say that generally when we get complaints, I can tell you the Director of Public Works generally is very good at getting back to them, but I didn't hear anything from you or your dad, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I would have helped you if I
Oh,
know.
no, that's all right. I
But-
just thought I was coming here and, just wanted to see who's on council now as well. I recognize a few.
Well, you've got your answer now, so hopefully we can
Yeah,
get it fixed for you.
that's okay. And there's one other question I wanted to ask in regards to something else that I have also called about that wasn't really answered.
Okay, I don't see people getting up to come to the mic, so go ahead and ask that.
It's regards to the cemetery, the new niches.
Yes?
I had called and I live right near there.
Yes?
And I had asked how much the niches are going to cost. And I did not get an answer. I believe it wouldn't be, they were thinking of getting around to prices from different cemeteries. But if you want to purchase a niche, of course, if it's for a beloved one, you want one that is higher or lower on the wall. So I don't know whether it's a first come, first serve, or how that's supposed to work.
Okay, Clerk Chaperon, can you provide an answer to that, please?
Yes, thank you. So there is a report coming to council in September, which will have the proposed new cemetery bylaw, and with that, the fees will be proposed. So if you contact our office, we can put you on a wait list for the niches once they are available. They won't be available until next year, but you give me a call and
I
we
will.
will make sure.
I believe that I spoke to you 2 weeks ago, and that was not what I was told first. To be on, there's a waiting list, so that must have changed in the last 2 weeks. Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sir?
Thank you. My name is Søren Clemmensen. I'm the president of Central Ontario ATV Club. I live in Wasaga Beach, as you know. So we have a staff report coming back on Bill 107, off-road vehicles from Ron and his team. The recommendation in this staff report is that to wait until Bill 107, the regs come out and Bill 107 changes come into force. According to the Minister of Transportation, that could be up to 2 years from now, which would delay our project and our application for connecting the trails for another 2 years. We would love to see something happening a little sooner than that. I feel like 2 years is a long time to wait. Our application, I think the first meeting we had about the application was in March 2017, so we have already been working on this for quite a while, and our members are looking forward to getting some connections going, hopefully.
Okay, we'll be
So-
getting into that report, but in the interim, Director Belcourt, do you have any comment on that specific timing question?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. We reached out to our fellow colleagues, trying to get an answer from various ministries with regards to timing, and there's nothing definite yet, whether it be short-term or long-term.
CAO Brindley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that I would ask council and our public to do is, the staff report speaks to releasing all the comments on the 15th. I think council will have an opportunity to see what our residents think about the proposal or think about options. And there may be council may think about in September putting in a notion of motion that may direct staff differently. But at the time, staff, in abundance of caution, likes to make sure rules are rules and rules are in place. We don't want to make bad rules. But at the same time, we follow the wish of council, and after those comments are reviewed, I would suggest that council look at that, and they may direct us in September to do something different.
Okay, thank you. It's also pretty unusual to have regulations take that length of time to come out, isn't it? Usually regs are a little faster, CAO Brindley?
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you. At one time it was that way, but the Police Services Act was approved a year and 3/4 ago, and the regs still aren't out on that one. It's something new where the province seems to rush to make bills,
Yes.
and then it takes a long time before the regulations come through, unfortunately. Whereas before, when the bill was released, the regs would come right after that. So, and I was saying, I'll be very honest, it's not just something to do with this government. I saw it with the previous government as well.
Right.
There seemed to be a change in trend in terms of bills first, very quick, and then regs later.
Okay, thank you.
The intention with the delay, according to the minister, is so that townships have time to put their bylaws in place in this case. Right, so, sorry, through your worship.
Okay.
So the intention with the delay, according to my talks with the minister, is that townships should have time to put their bylaws in place
Right.
prior to the regs, prior to the enactment of the bylaw by the minister, or
Okay.
the regulations by the minister.
All right, appreciate your question. As was stated, we'll be discussing this further in September. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 8.4 minutes. Sorry, 8.1 minutes of council. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes of council? Moved by Deputy Mayor Coghlan, seconded by Councillor Chapman. Any questions or comments with respect to these minutes? These minutes include the special council meeting of June 24, the minutes of the special council meeting closed session June 24, the minutes of the special meeting July 3rd, minutes of the special meeting closed session July 3rd, and the minutes of the regular meeting of July 3rd. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have 8.4 minutes of boards, committees, and organizations. Can I have a mover and a seconder for receipt of these minutes of boards and committees? Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coghlan. Any questions with respect to 1 through 3 of these minutes? These minutes being the Elmvale BIA meeting of May 16, 2019, the Midhurst Community Recreation Association minute, June 24, 2019, and the minutes of Simcoe County Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting, July 18, 2019. All those in favor? Question, Deputy Mayor Coghlan.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. In the Midhurst Hall Board, there's a request for funding for Autumn Fest, and I'm just curious if we don't deal with it now, we might not get it done in time to support the event. So I'm just curious on the process, if there would be a delegation from them to come forward, or if we discuss it at the table at the time.
Thank you. Director Belcourt, can you shed light on that, please?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through to Deputy Mayor Coghlan. I did have a subsequent meeting with representatives of the Midhurst Community Rec Association following this meeting, of which that was one of the items discussed. And my advice to them was if they were wanting to make a request for funding, that they would need to make a formal request to council and present that. To date, I don't know if they were going to proceed with that or not. Maybe Councillor Hanna could shed some light on that.
Councillor Hanna?
My understanding is that that request was been canceled. It will not be coming forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Next, we move on to correspondence and information items, item 9. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive the correspondence and information items? Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coghlan. Are there any items that we'd like to comment on or pull? Councillor Hanna?
I'd like to speak to 9.2.
9.2. Goes up to 8, doesn't it? Oh, 9.
It would be 9.1
Okay.
subsection
Okay,
2.
subsection 2, yep, okay. Okay, any others, questions or pulling? Okay, Councillor Hannah, what question did you have with respect to that?
The report from the ministry about the widening of 26 Highway and the resurfacing, it talks about establishing a center left and right turn lane. And the report starts that, the way I understand the report, that the center left and right turn lane would commence around Carson Road. I believe that that center left and right turn lane should start right at Hamner. We got a lot of commercial stuff on the east side of Bayfield Street. There's a gas station, there's the very advanced, there's the ambulance service, so on, and there's that old motel that always had the potential to generate some kind of new business. My point being is if they don't put a left and turn lane in there when they're doing this road, it won't happen in the future. And there has been a number of accidents at that gas station because people have to stop in the live lane to make left turn into that gas station if they're going south. The report asks for a response back by August the 5th. This being August the 7th, we might be late, but I believe that it would behoove this council to suggest that if they're widening the road, do it right and put a a second lane in the center for left and right turns from Hamner to at least the top of the hill, and then at the bottom of the hill at Carson Road, they're already planning on doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Ha or CAO Brindley. Any comments with respect to that?
Mr. Mayor, and through to the comments by Councilor Hannah, we as staff could prepare something very quickly and have it available for signature. Do that tomorrow, essentially requesting the Ministry of Transportation to provide more upgrades. We could do that. It is a corridor that we do have some challenges with, to say the least, so council can, if council wishes, I can do something tomorrow and we can get that off.
Okay, any other comments with respect to that item? Okay, I think that would be good to do, so we'll pull that item and, no, just give direction. Okay, we will go ahead and do that, makes sense. All those in favor? Carried. Committee recommendations, item 10, Committee of Adjustments. May I have a mover and a seconder for the Committee of Adjustments Resolution re-agenda delivery? Councillor Ritchie and Deputy Mayor Coghlan. Director Spagno, maybe you could just present us an overview of the different options and the considerations, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I guess the origin of this report, it really stems from concerns that were raised by some of the Committee of Adjustment members that they were not receiving hard copy agenda packages in time or providing for enough review time prior to scheduled Committee of Adjustment meetings. What the report details is it details the process for agenda delivery for the Committee of Adjustment. It details the process for delivery of hard copy or agenda packages to council and other committees within the township, and it provides 3 options. The options as outlined in the report are identified as option 1, which would be the existing process for agenda package delivery, which entails circulation of the agenda digitally approximately 11 to 14 days prior to the meeting, along with the mailing of a hard copy regular post approximately 11 to 14 days prior to the agenda meetings. The second option would follow the standard approach as per terms of reference for this council, for other committees, whereby agenda packages are only sent electronically or digitally approximately 5 to 7 days prior to meetings. And in option 3, which would follow along with what staff took from discussions at the Committee of Adjustment as being the delivery of agenda packages electronically through email 11 to 14 days prior to a meeting, In addition to that, providing for hard copy delivery through a courier service. Staff is recommending option 1, which is status quo for the delivery or agenda package delivery process that is currently in place. Staff remains to be of the opinion that this is a higher level of service to committee members to go provide for agenda delivery, which goes above and beyond the existing process for this council, other similar committees. Really, I think related to cost, the committee's request to have courier service is a nominal cost. In essence, in that you're probably looking in the range of $275 to $300 a year as opposed to $168 a year. This is really a matter of taking a look at the protocol and the process that's currently employed and whether or not there's adequate delivery times for the agenda packages. It would appear from discussions with the Committee of Adjustment that the issue has been just delays through regular postage as opposed to agendas being sent out on time. However, I think based on the fact that the committee's getting the digital version 2 weeks prior to, along with a hard copy after the fact, it'd be my submission that that's more than enough service to provide enough time for review. The other option that is also available is hard copies can be picked up upon request at the municipal office in advance, if need be, and staff's more than willing to incorporate that into our regular work process.
Thank you.
I'll leave it at that, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director. Open it up to comments of council. Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe that they get a quite extensive package. It's not just a normal amount of correspondence. They're quite detailed reports that they get.
Director Spagnell?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through you to Councillor Hannah. The packages would include comments from agencies. Sometimes they include engineered drawings and designs. Sometimes they include full justification reports. So in some instances, the packages can be quite lengthy. However, I guess when you just looking at the volume and on average on how many applications the committee might deal with, staff took a look at the overall average of applications over the last 3-4 years, and you're looking at 4 to 5 applications per agenda. On slower, or I guess on smaller committee agendas, you might have 1 or 2. It really does depend on the night, but on average, there's about 4 to 5 applications between minor variances and consent applications over the course of a year.
Follow on?
Thank you. I don't like to be critical of the postal system, but sometimes you don't get stuff as speedy as you would if it was couriered. I believe if you're offering the option that you can come and pick the documents up here, I suspect they get mileage, and if they do, then I would suspect that being able to pick it up here is a good alternative as to mailing it if they want it sooner. So I believe that the recommendation number 1, which staff is recommending, makes more sense.
But just for clarification, I doubt they would be getting mileage for coming to pick it up.
Mayor Allen, thank you. I think just to clarify, mileage is provided for site visits. The provision of hard copy packages here would be to provide the committee with enough time to come in, and I don't think that would be covered for mileage.
Right. Other comments? Councillor Ritchie?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through to the Director of Planning. Each committee member is given a computer. Is that correct?
Director Spagnell?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through you to Councillor Ritchie. Each member is not provided a computer through the township. However, if there's a request for tablets at meetings or anything of that nature, we do have some alternate devices that can be provided during meetings, but the township does not provide committee members with computers.
Just as a matter of interest, do you know whether each of the members presently access or have the ability to access electronically 14 days in advance, in addition to picking up a hard copy if they so wish?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. It's a good question. My understanding is there is access to computers. However, the issue is they don't want to be printing off thick agenda packages on their own printer.
Yep. Other comments? Councillor Ritchie?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through the Director. Do we have computers to give them? Like if they needed them, like we have as council, like, I mean, they're an extension of council and they're a very important team to have, so I'm saying, like, I mean, if they had the computer, like I use this all the time. If they had a computer where it was digitally sent to them and they can review it and then keep all these, then I'll be better than, the hard, and if they want a hard copy, they can get it when they come, or it's available here. Like I'm just thinking accessibility and, we as council use these all the time, maybe Committee of Adjustment should have them. I'm open for discussion on that.
Director Spagno?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through to Councilor Ritchie. As far as providing for computers, I mean, just talking with Director of Finance, I mean, if you take a look at, the issue appears to be a preference. It's a preference of viewing the agendas on the screen of a computer versus having a hard copy available. If the issue is the courier service and that there needs to be a more reliable source of sending the hard copy, then, you know, in discussions with the Director of Finance, the courier service may be a more cost-effective way of dealing with the matter. I think the computer, the issue isn't necessarily with access to computers, it's a preference to look at the agendas, hard copies of the agendas versus on a computer screen.
Okay, council, we have a recommendation of staff to go with option one. Any other preference to go with another option? So we have a mover and a seconder that the report from the Director of Planning Services regarding the Committee of Adjustment Resolution, agenda delivery dated August 7, 2019 be received, and option one, that staff be directed to maintain status quo and continue to deliver agenda packages to Committee of Adjustment members via email and regular post approximately 2 weeks prior to the scheduled meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Yes. Next, we go to bus shelters. A bus shelter for the Elmvale Parkette. Can I have a mover and seconder for the bus shelter for Elmvale Parkette? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Chapman. Director Belcourt, maybe just summarize, if you would please, the options that were in the report and what the dollar value difference and contribution involves, please. Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. Mr. Haw?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. The report from the Director of Public Works, Heather, met with the Lions Club, and they're willing to contribute funds towards this. I haven't had a whole lot of involvement in it, but she has included the options and various pricing of the bus shelters with, you know, benches, LED lights, solar, so hydro's not required. And I guess is putting it forward with an option for council to contribute or not support it this time.
Okay, thank you. As I reviewed the calculations in the report, the Lions Club has kindly agreed to donate $7,500 towards it. If we went to the contemporary design, that's $8,700, so the contribution would be $1,200. We went with Avanti, that's a $9,200 shelter, so the contribution by the township would be $1,700. If we went for the Cadillac Vanguard, it would be $12,200, being a contribution therefore of $4,700. They looked to me to be all functional, and I believe they're all solar too, aren't they? Yes, so you're getting solar charging there, which is good. Any questions or comments, discussion? Yes, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. How many people actually use the bus from Elmville to wherever?
Yeah, Director Belcourt.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just as an observation, going by the area quite often, in the morning hours, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, there are numerous people that are catching the bus to go south at that point. And throughout the day, you'll see people getting on it as well, just as an observer.
Certainly, we could find out the exact figures because they're tracking that very carefully at Simcoe County, and they just have expanded the routes, so it's going to get busier and busier. Councillor Hannah?
Thank you. I think the contemporary makes the most sense, and I appreciate the question about how many people are on it, because I have received complaints from residents that there's nobody ever on the bus when it goes through the Midhurst area. I have seen the driver and one or two other people on it at occasion, but I don't ever see it being very busy, so I think contemporary would make the most sense, at least as a start.
Okay. We being Deputy Mayor Coughlin and I will endeavor to get some updated numbers for council next time on the traffic coming through Midhurst and other areas in Springwater. Okay, so we're putting forward option 1. Any more question or discussion before we vote on option 1, the contemporary? All those in favor? Carried. Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
My apologies, Marilyn. Just confirming that was from the gas tax, or how are we funding this? The 1,200?
Director Schmidt, the funding of that 1,200 contribution?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may recall, or council may recall, that the township received additional gas tax funds, one-time funds in 2019, and hence we're proposing that these funds would be drawn from that allocation.
Okay. Did we vote on that? Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. One other question. Is it plus HST? So it's 7,500 through Lions plus our 1,200 plus HST?
I believe the prices are HST included. No? Oh, okay. Mr. Haw?
Yeah, it says in the report that the prices would be, so it would be 8,700 plus HST, so.
Okay. All right. All right, all those in favor? Option 1? You had the question, Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you. So then, is this council looking to top that up to that option, or are we just going to leave it at the 1,200 and then what if there's not enough funding to receive it? So my question then would be, are we covering 1,200 plus or just the 1,200 in the resolution?
I would think we'd have to, we'd add the HST and we'd top it up to be able to accomplish the purchase of the contemporary unit. So we'll do that calculation and adjust the dollar total. It's 2,331. That doesn't seem right. Director Schmidt, is that full HST or does that have a reduced HST?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, the additional HST would only be 1.76%, not the full 13%. So it'd be 1,200 plus 1.76%. So that would all be proposed to come from the gas tax to make sure that we can purchase.
Somebody do that?
The item.
Okay, so we're saying option 1, contribute 1,200 plus HST on total towards contemporary model bus shelter. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to 12.1, action reports, consent agenda. May I have a mover and a seconder to get these on the table? Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coughlin. We have items 12.2 through to 12.9. Are there any that we'd like to pull for questions or pull completely? Councillor Ritchie?
12.7, please.
Okay, would you like that pulled completely or just ask a question?
I like to pull it.
Okay. Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. 12.6, just a comment.
Okay. Anything else? Councillor Hannah?
12.9,
Question or pull?
I better pull it.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
12.2, and it's just question.
Okay, let's start with 12.2. Question, please. Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn, and through you to Mr. Haw. The reason for the change is I'm assuming due to bylaw infractions, or I'm just curious as to how this is gonna impact when kids are going back to school, and how this, is this communicated to residents, and how is that done?
Mr. Haw?
So this is just an amendment. I guess the original no stopping, that time was circulated to the school, and as it turns out, we now have people arriving after the no stopping to drop their kids off, so it's, we're still getting complaints, so it's just to extend it to cover that off. And the school has agreed to inform the residents of that change.
Follow on?
And thank you, and then, so from what I'm not there, I'm usually at a different school dropping off kids at the time, but there is a drop-off area, and then this is at a catwalk at the back of the property, is that where the concern is?
Yeah, correct. This is on Forest Hill, behind the school at the catwalk where people are stopping in the middle of the road and letting people off, and there's no sidewalks or anything there. There is a drop-off area in front of the school.
Okay, and follow on through you, Mayor Allen, and that's the kindergarten area from what I'm understanding from residents, is that, I don't know, so is it possible to get, I don't know how that school operates, so I don't know how they are to drop, are they supposed to be using the kiss and ride lane, or it's like the junior kindergarten and kindergarten kids get dropped off in a different area? I'm not familiar with that.
From what I understand, the drop-off is to be on Doran Road in front of the school, not up in Forest Hill.
CEO Brindley, did you want to add to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to confirm, because I was working with the principal originally on this, and yes, these people are avoiding the established kiss and ride. There is actually a formal area to drop the children off in a safe area. Unfortunately, we've had some near misses because of winter snowbanks and children just running off to the road. And unfortunately, even when there was a license plate search, most of the people dropping them off are actually within walking distance. Rather than walking their kids to school, they're actually driving them to school and then back to their houses. So it is an unsafe situation. There is a formal kiss and ride, and they're choosing not to use it.
Okay, so the motion is moved and seconded, that, 12.6, sorry, we hadn't, questions, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just a question to see if the residents have been notified of the noise bylaw exemption working from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Is that Mr. Haw? Oh, it's you, sorry, Clerk Chaparral.
Thank you. The contractor has not advised us if they've advised the residents, but work actually did start yesterday. I was told that through the application that night work is extremely limited. It's just to get back on track if the project gets behind schedule, and that the fact that the work is completed underground, that there's actually no construction noise that could be heard outside of the culvert.
Okay, so the recommendations contained herein be approved as presented for 12.2, no stopping zone Forest Hill Drive, 12.3, final completion Sycamore Circle, 12.4, pickup trucks, winter parking lot plowing, 12.5, Springwater Swing Golf Tournament, 12.6, noise bylaw exemption, Alexman Contracting Inc. for the Horseshoe Valley Road West Culvert replacement, and 12.8, the open air burning bylaw with the exception of items 12.7 and 12.9 to be dealt with separately. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, 12.7, Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I've read this over several times, and we had a partnership agreement in place. I ran on it, I got elected on it, and we delivered on it. And in April, we had the opening. So we've come a long ways. I know I'm excited. There's a lot of people in the township up in our end anyways excited to see these programs. And I'd like to take a minute and compliment Mr. Belcourt on the work that's been involved here. A lot of work, a lot of meetings. So my hat's off to Ron for this work. There's the two committees that they're talking about, the working committee and the administrative committee. I'd like to put my name forward as a counselor. I'd like to see myself, I'd like to be on that, but being that this is in Councillor Cabral's ward, I'd like to ask him, and if he wants to, then I feel comfortable letting him on it, and if he wants me, then I'd gladly sit on it. So if there's going to be more than that, then Mayor Allen, you're going to have a decision to make. So, but that's where I stand with this thing about the Elmville District High School.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ritchie. We didn't get a mover and a seconder to get this particular item on the table, so Councillor Ritchie, do I presume you're a mover? Sure. And seconder, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, and I would support Councillor Ritchie's comments, and I think he worked pretty doggone hard to get this to happen, so I think it would be appropriate for him to be on the committee, but also I think the ward councillor should also be on the committee, and unfortunately he's not here, but I think Councillor Corbell would not object to being on it, so if it's appropriate to make a motion to put Councillor Ritchie and Councillor Corbell on this committee, I would be happy to make that motion.
Any comments from Director Belcourt or CAO Brinley? Yes, CAO Brinley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, we're not looking for council's designation of who's on the committees yet. That will come in the near future. Right now, it's about getting the agreement in place with the school board. We would have a separate report to council with respect to the committees at a future date.
Okay, I think that's fair, and we could address that potential at that time. Deputy Mayor Coughlin, did you have a question?
No, Mayor Allen, through you, I remember that Councillor Ritchie sat on the previous committee, and I was saying just to transfer the membership, because I believe it was Cabral and Ritchie who are appointed to that as it stands, so you could just change the name essentially.
Okay, so the motion then reads that the report from the Director of Recreation Parks and Properties regarding Elmville District High School joint use and cost-sharing agreement dated August 7, 2019 be received, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the Elmville District High School joint use and cost-sharing agreement with Simcoe County District School Board, and that commencing with the 2020 township budget, the Elmville District High School Capital Renewal Reserve Fund will be established. All those in favor? Carried. That was unanimous. Thank you. And thank you for your comments, Councillor Ritchie. 12.9, Councillor Hannah. Let's start by getting a mover and a seconder to get this on the floor, please. Councillor Hannah, are you moving that? And Councillor Chapman. Go ahead, Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, and the reason I asked to pull it, because I think there's some action that's required. And let me first state for the people at home that complain about these stop signs, if they take the time to read the report, they'll see there's been some extremely positive results with the reduction in speeding and so on St. Vincent as a result of it. Personally, I don't like stopping at these stop signs either, but I think this council should be recognized for the initiative to put these stop signs in place. It wasn't a popular thing with everybody, but it's had some extremely positive results, as if you can see from the report. The reason I asked to have it pulled is in conversations with our Director of Public Works, we both agree that it would be, if we're going to keep these stop signs, then they should be increased. The north and southbound stop signs should be larger stop signs to make them more visible. Some of the people that still don't stop don't realize that the stop sign's there. The other positive thing with the one at Cedar Creek, that's the bus stop as well. Sometimes when the buses stop there, it's difficult, in addition to it being parked there, with the stop sign being visible. So a larger stop sign would accommodate that. So I think for the cost of two stop signs there, north and south, and the same at Jody's Lane, to support what we've done here would be something we should do.
Director Belcourt, any comments with respect to the size of the stop signs? Replace them with larger ones? Mr. Hawes, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I can answer that. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Councillor Hannah, and I think that's easily something we can absorb through the operating budget the other signs won't go to waste, they'll be used someplace else.
Okay, so moved by Hannah and seconded by Councillor Chapman still. Is that all right, Councillor Chapman? That the motion now before council be amended as follows. Add that the stop signs on St. Vincent North and southbound be replaced with larger stop signs. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we're back to the report of the from the Director of Public Works regarding the all-way stops, St. Vincent Street dated August 7, 2019 be received, and that the all-way stops remain on a permanent basis as amended. That the stop signs on St. Vincent North and southbound be replaced with larger stop signs. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 13, information reports. We have 14 of those. Can I have a mover and a seconder to get these on the floor? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Chapman. Any questions or desire to pull any of these? Councillor Hannah.
13.6, I'd like to speak to that, and I guess it's 13.12.
Do you want them pulled or speak to them?
I think speaking to them probably would be adequate, thank you.
Okay. Any others? Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
13.8 as well.
13.8. Okay, any others? Okay, and that's speaking to it, Deputy Mayor? Okay, go ahead with, 13.6, Councillor Hannah?
Thank you. That's the Small and Rural Funding Program. I realized from the report that we're able to make comments between now and before that's finalized, and I just wanted to make it clear that I do have comments that I will be making to do with the Midhurst Pavilion. Not a lot of expense to do with the complaints about the noise, and we need to do something to buffer the sound of the pucks and the balls hitting the boards, because it's offensive to one neighbor's finding it unbearable, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And the other issue we have there is that consideration to paving that parking lot. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but the Midhurst Pavilion is busier now than all the other pavilions in Springwater Township put together, so that parking lot would justify to pave it. So those are two things I'll be bringing forward with before this report's finalized.
Okay. 13.8, Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Actually had comment again on the same, just 1 second.
On 6? 13.8?
Thank you, Marilyn, and through you. We did hear earlier in question period about waiting for Bill 107, so in order to respond to residents who are asking about timing and how this is moving forward and when they can expect to hear about the progress, I just want to confirm that the message from council this evening is that we are waiting until we've reviewed the comments, and we will be dealing with this at the first meeting in September.
Director Belcourt and/or CAO Brinley?
Mr. Mayor, thank you, through to the Deputy Mayor. The report itself speaks to waiting for the legislation, the regs to come out. That said, based on my earlier comments this evening, If after viewing the comments, we receive a notice of a motion from council in September, that would provide us some additional direction at that time.
Okay. All right. And is that it then, or a follow-on?
It's a follow-on. So the direction that's been provided to council, so what other direction are we looking for? Because the direction that, what I understood to be having was that we as a municipality are moving forward, so we're gonna, as a council, have an opportunity to review the over 500 responses, and then you requiring different or direction, or is it just reaffirming the previous direction? I just wanna make sure that we, as a council, are able to work with staff so that we can come up with a solution that doesn't, isn't impeded by a 2-year wait process or even a 16-month wait process. I feel that we've been listening to residents and we're working on, in a direction, and I just want to make sure that I'm still able to do what our residents are asking of us.
CEO Brindley?
Thank you. Through the mayor to the deputy mayor. The report itself is to wait until the province releases a regs, whether it's 16 months or 2 years. Now, the information that the deputant earlier provided in terms of that the ministry is waiting to hear from the municipalities, we'll also do some troubleshooting around that because that message has not been delivered to us. I'm not saying it isn't being delivered, it might be the message, but we have not heard that. But at the same time, if council wishes us to move on this faster, we recommend you review the comments that you'll see on our website as of the 15th of this month, and then provide a notice of motion in September for staff to move forward on this quicker than planned, which is after the regs are released. So we'll be essentially relying on council to provide direction to staff on how to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hannah, 1312.
Thank you, Mayor. Just an observation or a comment, if you like, on the cell tower they want to put at the Ann Street Airport. I realize that airports are licensed and governed federally, as are cell towers, but to put a tower within 770 feet of a live runway concerns me, and I think we as a council and township should express our objection to it, if for no other reason to liability or show that we're not complacent, is certainly for the safety of the people using that airport. They said in the report that planes don't land there at night. I actually have watched the planes from the back window of my house flying in and landing there at night. It may only be for emergency situations, but they do land there at night. And even if they didn't daytime, as some people may be aware, that the Suncor Tower, I think it was Suncor airplane, that crashed into the Nuviar CVR Tower, whatever you call it now, the CTV radio station tower in South Barrie. That plane crashed into that in the daylight and in that tower. So I'm just suggesting that we should be expressing objections to putting a tower at that height within 770 feet of a live runway at an airport.
CAO Brindley, any thoughts with respect to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and in light of Councillor Hannah's comments, I actually spoke to our planner on the file and I had the exact same concerns. I think we will take that away, staff will take that away as part of our comments to the authority. This is essentially announcing that this process is underway, and definitely staff will take these comments to the agency that's involved here, because as mentioned, we have the same concerns.
Okay, thank you. Any other points with respect to any of these? Okay, so we are moving to approve number 1, the monthly fire report, June 2019. Number 2, the tiered medical response, Springwater Fire Services. Number 3, the building permit activity summary, June 19. Number 4, RFP 219-23, read the bunker gear replacement. Number 5, folder inserter replacement, RFQ 219-15. Number 6, Small and Rural Communities Fund. Number 7, ZB 219-006, regarding 1712 Penetanguishene Road. Number 8, Bill 107, off-road vehicles. Number 9, award of design and contract administration, Doran Road reconstruction. Number 10, the pre-consultation process for the township official plan amendment. Number 11, telecommunications tower at 2632 Vesper Valley Road. Number 12, the telecommunications tower proposal 560 Ann Street North. Number 13, the 2020 budget directions report. And number 14, notice of award structures assessments. All those in favor? Carried. Verbal reports. Director Spagnol, any updates with respect to the official plan or economic development updates?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. At this point, I do not have any updates for neither item.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Coughlin, any county updates? Okay, municipal updates. I'd like to start with a couple. After 35 years in the municipal sector as a senior positions in Barrie, Brampton, Caledon, and St. Mary's, and the last 7 years in Springwater, Mr. Robert Brindley, our CAO, has been a key senior person, a senior leader in helping us set out a strategic vision for growth that will shape our community for years to come. He has been a great team builder, developer of staff, and contributor. We will be having a celebratory get-together later in August with all the staff. We will miss you and wish you all the happiness and success in your retirement. Thank you. We also congratulate and welcome Deputy CAO and Director of Finance Jeff Schmidt as our CAO effective September 1, and we'll be welcoming him more formally in our first meeting in September. And Director of Parks and Recreation, Ron Belcour, retiring after 42 years in Springwater. A very well-deserved retirement. Ron has contributed so much and knows so much about this township and about the workings. We will miss his humor, his wealth of stories, and his knowledge, but we will know where to go to find him. And when we need some history, some dirt, and recollection of the past. Good health and happiness to you and your wife, Ron, and thank you for your significant years of contribution. I'd like to turn it over to Clerk Chaperon to update on the AMO conference delegations that we have applied to make and that we've received some response on. Clerk Chaperon?
Through you. 5 delegations have been requested at the upcoming AMO conference in the middle of August. A delegation has been requested from the Ministry of Transportation, which notification has been provided that it's been approved. The item for discussion is further improvements to the pedestrian crossover located on Highway 93 in Hillsdale, so at Penetanguishene Road. A meeting was requested from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, which still has yet to be confirmed. And the issue at hand would be to request changes to the Municipal Elections Act regarding compliance audit. Speaking to the minister regarding shifting responsibilities for the compliance audit from municipalities to the provincial government due to costs and lengthy processes. The Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Sport, which has been approved, regarding funding or a partnership opportunity for an accessible recreation facility and ice pad. A delegation was requested with the Ontario Provincial Police, which has been approved, regarding policing contracts as well as police services boards. The delegates from Wasaga Beach and Clearview have also been invited to attend that delegation. And a delegation with the NDP caucus, which we have yet to receive confirmation, which would be an overview of all of the listed issues and items that have been requested from the other ministries.
Thank you for that summary. Any other municipal updates? Councillor Ritchie?
Mayor Allen, last Sunday we had our annual Phelpston Horseshoe Tournament. The weather was beautiful, good crowd of people. The pavilion worked out excellent. Just a great day, and everybody had a good time. So sunshine and blue skies in Phelpston on Sunday, so thanks.
I agree, it was a perfect day, and that pavilion is really excellent. First class, the way it's been done. Any other municipal updates? Councillor Chapman?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just an update on the Menacing Labor Day tournament. It looks like we will have 32 teams again. We have 2 not coming back that we know of for sure, and 5 new teams on our waiting list. So we just hope for good weather, and it should be a good time and a good fundraiser.
Thank you. Any other, yes, Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn. It wasn't much of a comment. It was my first time at the Phelpston Wingdinger, and I was very surprised that there was no wings. I had always assumed that it was chicken wings and horseshoes together, so that was quite a surprise to me that there was no wings at the Wingdinger. But it was a great event, very well run, and just a lot of really great people to be with. So,
Thank you. Okay, any notices of motion? Okay, any, in item 16, any items for future consideration? Okay, item 17, can I have a mover and a seconder that the bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Ritchie? Should read all those. And those being the bylaw 5000-292 regarding J and C Virtue, 219-058, the appointment of Chief Administrative Officer, 219-059, declare surplus, Part Block 72 Plan, 51M-411, Brzezinski, 219-060, amend traffic bylaw, no stopping Forest Hill, 219-061, assume part of Lot 6 and 7, Sycamore Circle. All those in favor? Carried. And a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, Councillor Moore and Deputy Mayor Coughlin. Chapman, sorry. That bylaw 219062 to confirm and adopt the proceeding of council at the regular meeting held on August 7th. 219 listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:52 p.m. to meet in a regular meeting on September 4th, 2019, 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers, Administrative Centre of Menacing. All those in favor? Carried. And a reminder that due to the summer schedule, there will not be an August 21st meeting. And enjoy the rest of the summer.